What's up, everyone? Bob's Blu-rays here, and I'm back again with another episode of Getting to Know Me More Than Movies. And in today's episode, we'll be discussing loneliness. So stay tuned, and we'll get right into it right after this intro. All right, so as you heard, we're going to be discussing loneliness today. This is a personal topic. Obviously, they always are. Hopefully, it means something to somebody out there that's listening or watching. But let's go ahead and dive into it a little bit. I've got 3 movies, as always, planned and set aside. These are 3 movies that mean something to me or relate to me in that loneliness aspect. And I can't wait to dive into it and discuss it. It might get personal. We'll see what I decide to talk about. I never know when I go into these things. I don't have anything written down. I just talk about it and let it flow right off the tip of my tongue. So we'll see how it goes. But we'll start with the first movie here being, these are 3 movies I absolutely love. Now, some of them deal with loneliness in different aspects in different ways. Some of you might say, how does that deal with loneliness? Well, film is subjective. So the first one I've got is Words on Bathroom Walls. This has one of my favorite actresses, Taylor Russell. I adore her. I think she is beautiful. She's been in the movie Escape Room, and also Waves and Bones and All. Well, Words on Bathroom Wall deals with a kid who struggles with schizophrenia. So he has mental illness, and he feels isolated in a way. He does meet Anna Sophia Robbs. He does meet Taylor Russell's character. Anna Sophia Robbs also in it as well. But he does meet Taylor Russell's character in school. And he forms a relationship with her, as you can see by the cover here. I don't want to spoil too much, but he definitely feels isolated. He has to take medication for his mental illness, and it eats away at him, and he feels isolated. He feels alone. He kind of shuts himself out from everybody else in a way, and he kind of gets shut out from people because of his mental illness. He gets made fun of, picked on, things like that. This movie is very good. I think it deals with that mental illness in particular in very well, very good way. I think it's done very well. It's emotional. It is sad at parts, it is heartbreaking in moments, and it is uplifting, it's romantic, it's a lot of things, but I think that I can relate to that character in a way. Don't struggle with anything like that, not the way he does, of course, at all, but being kind of isolating yourself at times, or just kind of shutting yourself out from everybody else. I've been there, I've done it, and I tend to do that, and I think a lot of us tend to do that without even trying to do that. Sometimes we just shut down or shut out kind of everybody else. So that's the first movie, Words on Bathroom Walls. I'm a huge fan of it. I've seen it multiple times in just the last couple of years, and I love it. It grows on me every single time. I have been there where I've shut the world out. Like right now, I'm currently living on my own in an apartment, and I actually talk to my dad maybe once or twice a month. He'll come over maybe once a month. My sisters and I, we don't chat much at all. Like, I'll talk to my one sister a little bit. Tried reaching out to my other sister the other day. She never texted back. My mom, I talk to her every couple times a month maybe. I'll see her and stuff like that. But yeah, ultimately, like, it's just kind of me in this apartment, so this community and doing live streams, it's a lot of fun for me. And when that camera goes off, it's just me. And I love the alone time I get here. Absolutely love it, right? I lived at home for a while, lived on my own when I was younger, moved back in and stuff like that. But I really like having that alone time, even when I was in a relationship and things like that. But I also miss that part of, if you want to call it, being in a relationship. It's been about 3 years for me, and I know it was great time to work on myself. I've enjoyed being single and, working on myself and the alone time. But ultimately, at the end of the day, too, I'm the kind of person who I look forward to one day being in a relationship again, hopefully. And you could get lonely at times. So living on your own, it's interesting because even being in a relationship, you could feel lonely. And I don't think it's talked about enough. Or ask people, like, you're not going to ask somebody if they're lonely, if they feel lonely, but I think a lot more people than you might think struggle with it. Even being around a large group, you could be at a party like him, Words on Bathroom Walls, at a school, and still feel the most lonely you've ever been. So just understand that. The next movie is going to be The Perks of Being a Wallflower, I'm going to go with. Now, there's a lot of different themes and topics in this movie you could discuss. This is one of my favorite movies of all time, top 10, no doubt. Logan Lerman is one of my favorite actors. And I think he, the word wallflower, I think he's very lonely in this movie. And he does befriend Ezra Miller, right? And then Emma Thompson's character, Emma Watson's. Jeez, I can't even speak today, so just don't worry about me. But yes, Emma Watson and Ezra Miller here, Perks of Being a Wallflower, and multiple other friends in the movie. He gets this group, and at one point in the movie, without spoiling, but I'm sure a lot of people have seen this, he does kind of do something at a party that makes his character, forces him out of that little clique, that group, the group of friends that he had because of something he does. And he goes down a dark path for a little bit there. He has a history, some trauma, and he just struggles with that. And then he feels very alone. And I remember that scene and him walking outside, kind of laying, I think, in the snow, if I remember, and just being very alone. And I think he's in a dark place, and when you're alone and you're in your thoughts like that, it could be a really good thing, but it can also be a very dark place. Your mind by yourself could be a very dark place with dark thoughts, and he has that. He struggles with that. And I really, really love this movie, obviously, and I think it just relates to loneliness in some way, shape, or form. So that's my next movie here. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, obviously, I think a lot of people struggle with it. And it's so interesting because you could feel alone. You could be with people or be in a relationship or anything like that and still feel lonely. Or you can enjoy your alone time but still struggle with loneliness. And I think that's something that I, from time to time, will struggle with. I love my alone time. I love living on my own. But from time to time, it gets lonely. And there's that, I guess, happy medium or that balance you need to find and things like that. And it could be tough. And obviously, if you're in a recent relationship that didn't work out, that could be a very lonely time for you. And sometimes people enjoy that lonely time, alone time. I have a couple friends, they, talking to somebody recently, and I won't name names here, but, one person in particular, we were talking about it, and he was saying he gets to see his girlfriend, once a week, and he loves it. He loves his alone time. Once or twice a week is more than enough to see her. And then there's people that feel like if they're in a relationship, they want to see the person 6 or 7 times a week. And then some people live with that other person. That's for you to decide, you and your, partner, spouse, significant other. But yeah, I just think it's very important to bring it up. If you feel lonely or if you're in a dark place with dark thoughts, talk to somebody because it can be a dark place at times. I love streaming. It's fun. I don't feel alone when I do, but as soon as that camera goes off, I am alone here. So, and it's fine. Like I said, I chose this, you know what I mean? But yeah, I just wanted to kind of bring some light to that. But we got one more final movie I'm going to go over here, which to me, this is an underrated movie, I feel like. Bruce Campbell directed it. People don't talk about this movie. Most people hate on it. I've talked about it so much. I did a Kelly Preston stream, and this was in my top 5. It was my number 2. We've got For Love of the Game. So I'm going to talk a bit about this movie. I played baseball when I was younger a little bit until I got hurt, stopped playing. But I'm big into sports. I'm big into competing. I'm a competitor. I used to do that, and I'm trying to find that balance of movies and going back to finding that competing and competitiveness and finding a balance of the two, because at one point, in 2021, I went and I did a lot of races. I ran like 52 races that year or something like that. I was racing twice a weekend sometimes. And then 2022 came around and I got back into collecting movies a lot. I started up with YouTube, all this stuff. And I stopped racing as much. I stopped competing, and I want to be able to find that happy medium of the two, and I feel like that's where I'm going to find my happiness. And I never felt really alone when I was doing that. And so you could isolate yourself and start to feel alone. Sorry for that rant and tangent there. But for love of the game, he's a pitcher, and he's a really good pitcher, and he's at the end of his road as a pitcher, end of his career. Don't want to spoil too much, but there might be minor spoilers in here if you haven't seen this movie I'm going to get into. But he's on the pitcher's mound, which is a very lonely place. And they talk about it in the movie, I believe, being a very lonely place. And he is pitching the game of his life. He's in the midst of pitching a perfect game. And if anybody doesn't know what a perfect game is, it's where you don't allow a hit, a base runner, a walk, nothing. It's a perfect, clean, flawless game. And it's very rare and very difficult for pitchers to do. And his girlfriend in the movie is Kelly Preston, right there. And he meets her early in his playing years, and eventually is pitching later on in the crossroads of his life, so to speak. And Kelly Preston is leaving him. And he is in the middle of this game and he doesn't know what to do, right? She's left him. She's leaving for London, I believe. And I'm definitely going to get into spoilers here, so if you haven't seen it and you're worried about that, just a heads up. But he ends up pitching the game of his life, okay? The absolute biggest game of his life. And he gets to his hotel room and he's sitting there on the bed and he's crying and he's all alone. And I just think that scene in particular is so powerful and so emotional, because he just pitched the game of his life, had the moment of his life, the best moment he could ever have in his entire life. One of the biggest moments. Nothing could ever top it. And yet he still feels alone. The biggest moment of his life. And I felt that way back in 2021 when I ran one of the biggest races of my life. I had failed it 6 years prior, tried to do it again, and I had finished with 12 minutes to spare, and my dad called me, and I remember crossing the finish line of that race, and it should have been one of the biggest moments of my life. It was something I had worked so long to get back to. Failing it 6 years prior broke me in so many different ways. And my dad called me and he's like, so how did it feel and stuff like that? And I was like, not what I expected. Crossing that finish line, I thought that would be the moment, like the moment of my life. And my dad's like, so is that it? Are you done? And I was like, no, I in a way, I almost feel empty still. I was like, there's something missing, I said. And I've never ran a race when I was in a relationship, so I'd never had anybody there. Like, I think my mom's been at a couple races, 2 or 3. My sister has walked a few. Outside of that, like, my dad's never been to a race, watched me compete like that. And so a lot of these times you could have one of the biggest moments of your life or finish one of the biggest races of your life, and you still feel alone at the end of it because you have nobody by your side. And this isn't a woe is me video at all. It's to shine light on the fact that I think a lot of people can struggle with it and not talk about it, because it's hard to talk about. It's not easy to tell somebody, hey, I feel alone. I feel really lonely. No matter how much I'm around people or who I'm around, I feel isolated. I feel left out. I isolate myself maybe. I don't feel welcome. I feel alone. I'm depressed. I'm sad. I'm in a dark place. I'm in my thoughts and they're not good thoughts, whatever it could be. It's very difficult to open up and talk to somebody about that stuff. I think in general, a lot of these topics I try and discuss on Getting to Know Me More Than Movies can be very difficult topics to discuss for some people, and this one in particular. If you live alone, you might even, like I said, have multiple people be at a party and you could feel more alone than you've ever been in your life. That's just the way loneliness can work. And if you were just in a relationship and got out of it and got heartbroken, you could be more lonely than ever because of that. So I can relate. I get it. I've been there. And I struggle with it myself, and I still do. And I don't talk about it a lot because it's not something I want to bring up. I think oftentimes we as people can struggle with something and we don't want to talk about our problems or bring it up because you might feel like you might get judged, or you might not want to bring your problems to other people because you don't want to feel like you're complaining or you're whining or you're crying, or you might not want to ask for help. You might not want people to think you're asking for help. You know, if you're talking about anything, they might be like, oh, you know, I just texted my sister, for example, the other day. The oldest one, I don't talk to her often. I said, hey, how are you doing? Out of the blue. The last time I texted her was on her birthday in April. She hasn't texted me. We haven't talked since. I texted her, hey, how are you doing? Because I just was like, you know what? The other day I was having one of those moments. I was like, I need to be a better brother to my sisters and try and reach out and see how they're doing. You never know, right? My sister struggles with loneliness. And so I reached out to her and she never texted back. And I saw her like 2 days later at my mom's. And my mom was like, yeah, Colleen never texted back because she thought you wanted something. So that is one of the things when you reach out to somebody, especially if it's been a while since you talked to them and you reach out to them and say, hey, how are you doing? I wasn't asking for anything. I didn't want anything. I was genuinely concerned or just showing care, like asking my sister how she's doing. Colleen, really, how are you doing? And she thought I wanted something. So it's one of those things. Sometimes you might feel like the person might think you want something, and I don't. I didn't in that moment at all, but that's what she thought, and she never responded. And but it's one of those things. It could be a lonely place. It could be a dark place. Your mind being, you know, just alone, and its thoughts can be good. It could be bad. It could be a bit of both. And there are just times I feel like loneliness can lead to depression for a lot of people. And I just wanted to bring some attention to it. See how you're doing today. If you're watching this video, you know, if you struggle with this stuff and you don't feel comfortable dropping it in a comment section, let me know in a DM. Go on Instagram and DM me. I'm usually around down there for the most part. I just wanted to shine some light on it. Like I said, I have struggled with it. I live on my own. I am spending the majority of my days alone. If I don't talk to the community, it's crazy because, like I said, between my mom, my dad, and my two sisters, and then uncles and aunts and cousins, I never talk to really outside of family parties once every couple months or whatever. I see the four of them like maybe 5 times a month, 3 or 4 times a month. Now that's a lot compared to some people. I was having a conversation with a friend, and he said, I talk to my mom and you know, my brothers and stuff like that, my sisters, a couple times every couple months maybe, or once every couple months. I don't, you know, sometimes it's like that for me. And I'm a personal trainer, and then I drive around all day. And so I don't talk to anybody if it's not the community. I'm not, and sometimes I'll shut out, right? Like I just go through some stuff, and my biggest defense mechanism is kind of just to shut down and shut out. And so shut everyone out in a way. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to talk about it. So I know I dragged on a little bit, but it was something that, like I said, I don't have written down. I don't have any things I want to talk about in particular. I just want to talk and see where I go with it. And this is where I went. So It's probably going to be, around a 20-minute video, and I hope everybody that watched, I hope you got something out of it. If you want to talk about it, DM me. If you want to drop a comment, I love reading your comments if you feel comfortable dropping a comment. And if you've seen the movies or anything like that, I do recommend all 3 movies. I personally love them. I can't say that you will, of course, but I hope you enjoyed this video. I really do enjoy doing talking about more than movies and diving deep into it and just discussing life and any topic that comes up. So it can be difficult at times. I'm an open book, but it's not always easy to get in front of a camera and share this with strangers that I don't know. So I appreciate everybody that does watch. I really do. Thank you so much for your support. This is who I am. This series that I run, this is what it's about for me. This is who I want, my channel to be about in a way. I want to be real, upfront, and talk about honest and topics and themes and tie it into movies. That's what this is about for me. So appreciate you watching. Thank you so much for your support. Like I said, drop a comment, hit the like button if you want to, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. I appreciate that. So you'll get more of this kind of stuff on my channel in the future, and I'll see everyone in the next video. Have a great day.